Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. I'm gonna be honest. Days was killing it today. If I gotta sit there and do from best to worst, or from like 1 to 4, it'll be Days, it'll be B&B, it'll be GH, and of course we have YNR. Um, yeah, that's pretty much my list. But getting into this episode today. Now, doesn't it just sound like Brock TV? So, going into this episode today, which doesn't really sound much differently, let's start off with Gwen. Gwen, I'm going to be honest. What the hell is this woman doing at this point? Like, you're going into the police station. You're threatening Ava. To say, oh well, if you tell, then I'm going to sit there and tell on you, and you go back and forth. And what Ava realizes that, well, they're both screwed. So they're pretty much at a stalemate. I'm just like, all right, you do realize that this woman is in the mob, and the minute that she finds a way to take you out, you're donezo. Okay, you're finished. It's, it's over. Um, let's all keep in mind that she's doing this to keep a man. Yeah. You know what? I was gonna sit there and make a joke, but it was gonna sound crude, and I'm just not gonna go there. But point is, we're not worth going through that amount of whatever the hell she's doing. We're just not. Just gonna be honest. I don't think anyone is personally, but that's beside the point. So they threaten each other, and they kind of both realize that they're at a stalemate. So Ava kind of just stays in jail, and um, Gwen continues to walk out of there like a snowman, dressed like a snowman. And she's walking, and I guess she's going past the cemetery for some odd reason. I don't know why. But she's going back to, she's walking, and she runs into Nick Granger, which, I'm going to be honest, that name sounds kind of weird. Um, he's like, hey, so I did you a solid, and then I had like two people at my doors, and they asked me a bunch of questions, and like, I totally didn't like turn you in. But here's the catch. And I'm just like, what does this fine, upstanding man wants from Gwen? He says $1 million, and I'm like, that's it? Just $1 million? Run a yacht, some models. I mean, the sky's the limit. 1 million. This woman is literally sitting there living off of Xander, who is living off of a credit card, which at some point he's gonna have to pay. But that's beside the point. So she's just like, yeah, I can't do that. I don't have the money. And then Nick is like, "Oh, okay, cool. So I guess you don't like your freedom. You want me to start telling? Because I'm more than happy to do that." So then Gwen is like, "All right, how about I can get you the money, but it's going to come through Ava. All you got to do, all you got to do is bring her out." So so Nick dresses by the lawyer, goes to Ava, and is like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna sit there and get you out, and I'm gonna fly you anywhere you want to go for a small fee, of course. You know, whatever high number I could sit there and think of." And it was like, at first I thought it was going to be like, no. Because I thought it was going to sit there and put it on Gwen's tab. I mean, but then again, they got so much dirt on each other. Um, so they're at a stalemate. But it was like, all right, yeah, I'll pay. So I guess she's going to be getting out to, eventually terrorize. But that's actually going to be kind of a good point. Because now if she's gone, then how are they going to sit there and get Rafe out? Which, to be honest, I kind of don't care because, what he did to Ava. Listen, Ava's not a saint, and she's done things that, well, she's just done some really terrible things. One of them, which I'm not going to say, but I'm just so surprised that if the roles were reversed and let's just sit there and say he would have been canceled. But with that being said, Rafe really did her dirty, and so I have no sympathy for him whatsoever, or Nicole for that matter. So after Johnny was there talking to Tony, he left the meeting. Um, Same thing with Gabby and Jake. Now there was one point where Gabby was there talking to Johnny, and she was there talking about practically screwing him over. He's going to get what he deserves. And Jake was like, he walked up to her after the phone conversation, like, um, what exactly am I going to get? 'Cause that sounds all kind of sinister. I mean, on top of the fact that she was already being cold to him anyway, but she's like, no, you're gonna get to see into, like you're gonna be, running the mirror or whatever. So they start the meeting with Shen there, and Kate is like, what meeting? I mean, this kind of got called at the last minute, and so they all get down there, and at this point, Kate's like, what is going on? Start the meeting, and Jake is like, all right, listen. First of all, I want Victor there because there's so many damn Victors to keep up with. I want Victor, um, on the board. And at first, Kate is like, why would you want the competition there? And it's sort of, keep my enemies closer, keep my enemies closer, whatever the hell she said. And then we could sit there and just kind of give him the boot. And Kate is like, I'm pretty sure you're kind of underestimating this guy. He's been around the block for a while. Like, you really think it's going to be that easy? And the second one is I think appointing Jake to be CEO. I'm not gonna lie, I think it was I think those are the two things. And then Gabby decides to flip the script and it's like, yeah, we gonna change that. So I want Johnny to be CEO, like running the company, and I want to be like co-CEO or whatever, like or second in command. And so at this point, Jake is flipping out. He's like, what? What in the hell are you doing? Pretty much. They argue back and forth. Kate is enjoying this. Kate literally said, I told you not to trust her. And listen, as much as I'm enjoying this, I'm not gonna let either of y'all screw over Chad. So at this point, Kate is like, listen, you're gonna vote for Jake, and I'm not voting for any of this. And he's obviously going to sit there and not vote for any of this other, and we'll be at a stalemate, and then, things could be status quo. But then Johnny does some sort of Jedi mind trick on Shin and gets him to vote on his side. At this point, Jake is like, what in the hell is happening? They get back and forth, and Gabby's like, oh, you try to betray me when at Maggie's place, and didn't include me in the deal, and act like like my portion or what I was asking for didn't mean anything. And, you know, they're going back and forth. And Kate's just looking at this whole thing. And she just has this look like some of this stuff is just not making any sense. Jake is like, yo, listen, I never went to Maggie. I lost my phone. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Gabby is just, obviously convinced that Jake tried to screw her over. So, she flipped the script. And Jake is pretty much out. So the meeting is done. Shen leaves. I think Kate leaves. And now you got Jake with Johnny. And Jake, I mean, Johnny is just really going in on him. Oh, now you're outed and you're impotent, and you lost your girl, all this other stuff. He's just really going in on him. And at this point, Johnny's like, all right, so you can get the hell out, or I can call security. And Jake gets so mad that he walks up to Johnny and grabs his arm when he's about to call for security. But at this point, Diablo, he doesn't like physical threats. He doesn't like somebody trying to threaten him, like on a physical level, or calling him a name that he doesn't like. Um, and reveals himself the same way he did when Paulina grabbed his arm. Yeah, that was another. Yeah, Paulina grabbed his arm. And at this point, Diablo doesn't like people grabbing his arm, and he looks at Jake with those eyes. And at this point, Jake is like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't expect this on a Monday morning. Pretty much, like he's just looking like, oh, it's you." Now, earlier, John Diablo is doing what John Diablo does best. I'm not gonna sit there and say at this point. I think everyone already kind of knows where I'm going with this. And Johnny decides to start fighting back. He was like, "Yo, I want my body, this, that, and the third." And of course, the Diablo is pretty much like, "Yeah, well, here's the thing. Verlina kind of got away from my grasp because, well, she had John and their love. And as icky as that sounds, you don't really love anyone except for yourself. So that kind of sucks. I don't think that's true, but he managed to quiet him enough where he can kind of, take, back control or put him back, to sleep or whatever he does. So of course, Sarah and Xana. Xana runs into Sarah, who at this point is convinced that she is Renee Dumont or Demera, whatever the hell she wants to call herself. And Xana tries to like at first he's like, I'm happy at your back, this, that, and the third, and he's like, what is going on? And she kept saying that she was Renee. So after a while, he kind of took a bit of a timeout. He calls Jack up, and it's like, oh, so that's what's going on. This is why you should probably not hang up the phone when somebody's in mid sentence. Now he's trying to convince her that, like, yo, you're Sarah Horton. You're not Renee, or whatever. He tries to use a lot of logic, like, hey, you kind of died. You would be like really old, this, that, and the third, and nothing is getting through. One second, I gotta blow my nose. Now, at one point, he shows her a picture of Sarah, and you know, she's still like, "Oh, that's not me. That's Sarah Horton with short hair." I'm like, all right. At this point, listen, these drugs must be so powerful that if she can't look herself in the mirror and realize that she looks exactly like the woman in the photo with short hair, at this point, I, like I almost want to sit there and say this is plot over common sense, but we don't know what's in that drug, and I mean, depending on what's in it, it may even turn her logic and reasoning and everything else upside down. So she's just convinced that she's Sarah. I mean, Renee, and she goes off on Xander, and then she walks off, and then um, Gwen runs into Xander, and Xander's like, "Oh yeah, she's alive, but she thinks she's Renee, this, that, and the third." And she's like, "Yo," I mean, he's like, "Yo, I got a long story to sit there and tell you." So he kind of fills her in on everything. At this point, I'm like, Gwen, part of me wants to sit there and be like, all right, this woman shoots for the stars. Even when she's screwed and she should just probably give up, cash in her chips, whatever you want to sit there and call it, just be like, you know what, listen, this is not working. Gwen is the type of person that's like, no, I'm gonna forge ahead, even though this makes no sense. This is totally against logic. Um, she's just like, I'm gonna sit there and do it anyway. I mean, she's going through all this. She busts Ava out of jail. So, I mean, you're just tallying up those federal charges are you're just tallying up those charges, between busting Kristen out, um, knocking out Abby, Joan's sister, and then getting, threatening Ava and then busting her out. It's just like we're doing this all for a man. I just want to sit there and repeat that because I know I'm kind of redundant, but this is what we're doing this for. Oh yeah, maybe a bit of her freedom, but let's be honest, this is mostly for a man. So Chad talks to Tony, and Tony's like, "Yeah, this whole Renee thing is quite crazy." And he tells Chad that, "Yeah, you know what? Listen, I let her stay here because Chad's like, yeah, I just saw your wife, and she is not happy like at all." And so when Tony was like, yeah, so now she's living here, Chad was like, I'm sorry, what? Are you serious? And of course, Tony's like, well, Kayla and Steve thought this was a good idea. And I was like, I'm pretty sure the actors didn't think it was a good idea, but, I mean, they could just sit there and kind of, hold her. Um, didn't they deem Dog a danger to himself and others and put him away somewhere? So that way they could sit there and treat him because he was not himself. I'm pretty sure they could sit there and do that to Sarah at this point, but whatever. Anyway, Kayla and Steve was like, yeah, no, we got to keep her here. And after a while, Chow was like, all right, maybe if she's in familiar territory and kind of settings and stuff like that, like she might kind of something may trigger. I'm just like, on what planet does this make sense? I mean, you got Anna that's living here. You want to sit there and try to pacify her, which is good luck with that. And you have Sarah that's there trying to run around, trying to find a divorce lawyer, trying to evict your wife. And I'm just like, Tony, so at some point, when are you actually going to sit there and put your foot down and be like, all right, this has went way too far. On top of that, I'm pretty sure maybe you should probably get her mother involved and her family and let them take care of her. But okay, this is the path that we're taking because reasons. I think that's about it. I do. But I also feel like crap. So, and I've been saying that in my last reviews just to kind of cover my ass, to be honest, because there's just stuff, there's a lot of times I'll sit there and do these reviews, and I always feel like I'm kind of missing one or two things. And I know at this point I should probably have confidence enough to be like, all right, I did a good job and I kind of covered everything. But, you know, I guess I also sit there and try to strive for perfection. And I hate when I miss stuff. Like, when I miss entire characters, even though, like, sometimes they may not do anything, they may not serve a purpose, or they were just so dull and boring that I just didn't remember them. I'm pretty sure. And if I didn't like these characters, well, there's always somebody that don't like these characters. So I guess that's why I'm a little more harsher on myself. With that being said, I think that's about it. I want to thank you for watching. I know it came out super late. I'm really sorry. And, and part of me was like, I don't know if I should really sit there and do this video because I know it's going to come out so late. And, not everyone's going to probably get a chance to watch it. But I enjoy these videos. And since I already watched the episode and I already did the other three reviews, I was like, yeah, let's just do this one. Especially since this one was probably the most enjoyable one of the episodes out of the four. Never actually thought I would say that. Anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.